So from the perspective of the industry, what are our comments and concerns on this policy? Well, first of all, we recognize that it's actually a pretty good policy. The government's put a lot of effort into it. Theoretically, if everything works, it should be a good, effective policy. But there's a couple watches. So first of all, we're suggesting it should be a 0.2 plus an action level. There is precedence for the 0.2. CFIA currently has 0.2% with a 95% confidence level for detection of plants with novel traits. So that is a precedence already within the CFIA. It would make sense. It needs to have this level of uncertainty to cover the variability in lab testing. So that accounts for differences in PCR, sampling, all of these different things. So it needs to have that in or in addition to the action level. What it doesn't do, though, is it doesn't cover variability in bulk sampling. So what I mean by that is a grain truck pulls up to the elevator, they take a probe, they put it down in, they take like 5 samples. That's a pretty hard thing to get variability, to assess the variability. We know that if it's automated and if we increase the seed number, we can get some more consistency around it, but it's very tough. So that is one thing that the grain traders are asking, that could there be some more research to find out what could be the variability and how could we minimize that in our sampling. But here's an important one: it can't be accumulative. So what I mean by that is, if it's 0.2 and let's say there's a stacked event in there, and that stacked event has 5 traits, then it would, to be under the 0.2, it would have to be 0.2 divided by 5. So very, very small, and it really doesn't make sense if the concept is that it's based on a trait, and the safety of the trait has already been assessed by another country. So we're telling the government that it can't be accumulative. And for example, even the EU, and I meant to mention this earlier, the EU has a technical solution for feed. We don't consider it an LLP policy because it's only feed and not food. But even in the EU's technical solution, they consider a stacked event as a single event. So we need to make sure that the government of Canada is aware of that. Under crop-specific thresholds, again, the concept's okay, but it depends on what are the actual levels set. And they need to take into account the realities of the grain trading system or the grain handling system. We know that as a threshold becomes smaller, the costs of actually working underneath that become greater. So while we need to still make sure that we maintain safety for the food, the feed, and environment, but it also has to take in realities of grain handling. It must be proactive, it must be achievable, and considering our limited resources, and we're hearing about more and more budget cuts all the time, and we know that more and more traits are coming online all the time, how are our regulatory colleagues going to be able to keep up and work on this proactively? And that's really important. There has to be the proper resources, and it has to be proactive to work. And it also needs to take into account other full risk assessments, and it can't slow the current process of getting submissions through the Government of Canada. So this information is from a CropLife Canada perspective, but also from information that's been discussed through the Grains Roundtable. So this is our perspective of the policy, its good points, but the things that the government needs to consider. So last slide between me and the wine. What's next? So Canada needs to finalize this policy, and as we see, there's still steps in there that need to be done. We need to determine what the action level will be. We need to determine the terms of reference for the recommending committee, who's going to participate, and then what will those actual crop-specific marketing thresholds be. We need to continue our work on international engagement. But we also need to work on seed. And so Ag Canada has already started. They hosted an LLP workshop for seed this fall. And there's now a working group that's working and trying to determine some of the issues and different aspects involved in seed so we can move ahead on that. So that's where we are. Again, I really encourage everybody. I didn't put the website up there. I probably should have, but if anyone's interested, get a hold of me, or I know Mike has it as well, and we connect you with the website. And I encourage you to read through the policy and make your comments back to Canada, because this really is important, both as an importer and as an exporter. So, thank you.